So, why I wanted to do this, the in person, but like just a bit of a review. Like our last session of the meditation course, we did kind of go over like the different styles of meditation and little things like that. So, what I really wanted to do is focus a little bit more on different scenarios or different types of meditations. So, a good place to start is, Katie, if you were to look for a meditation, first of all, why would you want to do a meditation?
For me, I mean, lots of reasons, but one of them is stress relief, or like we talked about, nervous system. Um, that's one
Yeah,
reason.
yeah, yeah. And what
Um,
else? So, what are some other things?
Honestly, usually that's my biggest one if I'm looking for one. Other things are the search for spirituality, if that makes any sense, like to stop all the noise, but also to get some kind of connection going, whether it's
Okay, yeah, yeah,
higher self or
yeah,
God, whatever we're, different
yeah.
names, different people.
Did you listen to my Facebook Live today, my Instagram Live?
I started to, but I got interrupted. But yeah, I'm going to listen to the replay because I'm really excited for that.
It was quite funny because Vince, I was talking to Vince and he said, "How did that go?" And I was like, well, it's the sort of conversations you've had to put up for the 9 years. I haven't actually shared it publicly like that before, but I thought, oh, well.
Oh, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's good. So nervous system, stress relief, connection, higher self, that sort of thing. Anything else? Why you would?
I think those are the two main things, like regulated, that all into being regulated, and the other thing is the other
Yeah,
spirit
like
component.
connection and
Mm.
stuff. What about you, Mumta?
To calm my mind down
Okay,
and,
yeah.
and to solidify the inner strength
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and for grounding.
yeah.
That's my main purpose because I know the inner strength is there, but this just solidifies it, and then nothing external affects
Yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah. Like anchoring in on that
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I like that. That's good. Okay, so that's cool. So why else would maybe other people? Why have you had like Mumta with your classes and stuff? Have people asked any questions about like have they come to you at all about this is why they wanted to learn meditation or do meditation?
Yeah, to create mental clarity.
Yep. So that's
Mm.
kind of a big one. What
Yeah,
else can
definitely.
you imagine? Could you imagine anything else, either of you? Why people?
Stress release
Yeah.
for everyday clients. It will be more of a stress release.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, those are the two things that's come from them. And then most of them say they cannot meditate.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
how do they meditate?
Yeah. So another thing that does come up quite a bit is sleep. Like people can't sleep, you know?
Yeah.
So like sleep is a big thing. People really being challenged with getting to sleep or waking up from sleep. So helping people to go to sleep, helping them recover from a bad night's sleep. So things like yoga nidra and stuff. So sleep is a big thing. Um, so when we think about stress, that like that's a big one, and especially at the moment, obviously. So stress, nervous system regulation, stress relief, all that sort of stuff, and just regulating yourself and solidifying into your inner strength. So when we think about stress, so what are some of the things like what are some of the things right now, like how do people express stress, like how do people know their life is stressed, like what are some of the experiences they're having?
Feeling overwhelmed,
Yeah, so overwhelm.
busy
Frizzled,
mind.
feeling
Yeah,
frizzled.
yeah. What else did you say, Katie?
I think I said busy mind.
Yeah,
Um, Anxiety, so like nervous system stuff.
yeah,
Like fear.
yeah. Anxiety, overwhelm. What about physically? Like, what are they experiencing physically?
There's the one that you said, like lack of sleep, but also exhausted,
Yeah,
health problems. I don't know, a lot of them.
yeah, yeah. What else? So, Mumta, when you feel like, you know, how you're saying, like, solidify into your inner strength. What happens when you're not? How does it feel when you're not solidified in your inner strength?
I feel overwhelmed personally. Yeah,
Yeah.
as if the whole world's sort of coming to me at the same time.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
what
and
does that, how does that show up in your body?
tightness and actually, I do, resistance
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and tightness of some muscles. So it's as if I'm holding on to something, and then I get aches and pains.
Yeah. Aches and pains.
Mm.
Yep. And, you know, like that's another thing is like tightness and tension, definitely tension. You know, like you say, the shoulders lifting up, jaw clenching, things like that. People don't notice headaches.
Yeah,
You know,
headaches.
headaches is common, and clenching is really common. All of those things. Anything else you can think of? So, you know, like we overwhelm and frazzled and busy mind and anxiety, all those things. Those are like a mental state, right? Exhaustion, health problem, feeling tension in the body, aches and pains, headaches, clenching. That's more of a physical, you know, realization of how what's going on. What about things like behavior? What sort of behavior do people express when we have this going on?
So when I'm full of fear, like I can be quite erratic. I
Mm-hmm.
can find it hard to concentrate. We can even get angry because you're
Yep.
irritable.
Yep.
Yeah.
What about
Not interested.
what's that? Not interested?
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Like disconnected?
Yes. Yeah.
Yep. Definitely. That's a big one. And disconnected can also lead to depression. You know, like people can also get, like, anxiety can also lead to depression. So we can also think of that, anxiety and depression, you know, different sort of results. So people can be behaving irrationally, they can be angry, you know, not interested, disconnected. What else? Like lashing out, grumpy, you know, all of those sort of things. Like think about not only your own behavior, but think about what other people's behavior is towards you when you know they're stressed. You know, like how do your partners react when they're stressed?
Yeah, it can be grumpy, or like you say, it can just be
Shut down.
Yep, shut down, yeah. Definitely. Anything else? What about what are some other coping things that people do? So, say for your husband, Mamta, so say that he gets stressed. Like, first of all, how can you tell physically? Like, you know him well enough, so you could look at him and see he's stressed, right? So, what sort of physical traits does he do when he's stressed?
Tightness around his shoulders.
Yeah.
And not paying attention to what I'm saying because
Yeah.
mind is too
Zoning out,
distracted. Yeah.
like distracted, zoning out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
yeah.
and bites back.
Yeah. So
Just
snappy.
thinking, taking things personally. I do that one. Like if I'm more reactive, like I'll take it. You know, when like sometimes when you're regulated, you can listen to people and you can be supportive for them, or it's no biggie. But when you're stressed, it's like you kind of take that bait of thinking, well, I think it's about me that they're criticizing me.
Yeah. Let's go put that back. Yeah, definitely. Like taking things personally, getting defensive.
Yeah, that's a big one for me.
Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah. So, and like Mumta, you're saying your husband being a bit snappy, you know, snapping back. That's a big one as well, you know. And so for your husband, Mumta, what's his go-to? Like, how does he deal with his stress? So, like, say for me, one thing like dysregulated way of dealing with my stress, one of my things would be shopping. You know, like one of my things that I'm like to relieve that tension feeling is I like to go shopping, or I might eat, or I might scroll, you know. So those are
TikTok.
behaviors. Eh?
Is TikTok, scrolling TikTok.
So is he a scroller?
Or watching movies. So he's alone time, watching movies or watch a screen time.
Yeah. So
And then it regulates him.
right, yeah. So that's his go-to is some screen time and stuff. Yeah.
Mm.
And what about Will, Katie?
Yeah, Will kind of leaves the building, you know what I mean? His go-to is either shut down or not really there. So disassociation, I guess.
Yeah. And then
like,
what's
I don't mind scrolling if they're having a laugh, but it's
yeah.
I find it hard when people aren't really there to participate.
Zombie mode, zombie
Yeah.
mode. Yeah. And what about you, Katie? Like, so what's your dysregulated go-to? You know,
I've got a few. So I'm like, what? There's eating.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I can act out or I can shut down. So
Yeah.
that's where I'm at. But I would prefer if I have a choice to shut down and isolate, which
There's less damage, eh?
Yeah, that I think it feels safe and that I don't, like you said, less damage, but it can come with consequences, right? Like I can't always participate in life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And what do you do in those moments to regulate yourself? Like we've got a list of the ideal, but we're talking about the not ideal.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Eating, sleep, scroll.
Yeah.
Sometimes
sleep is a good one too, because people don't always see that as a stress response, like a negative, but it's a shutdown, you know. It's like sometimes when people my daughter uses that a lot, you know, just blobbing out, sleeping, you know, being tired all the time and just like, falling asleep on the couch, you know. Like for her, what she does is she'll put a show on her phone, like and then just go to sleep with the show playing, you know, like she needs that noise and stuff, you know. It's not.
My husband does that too. Like he'll just go to bed early. If he's did after work, if we have a disagreement, he'll just go to bed early.
Yeah. And the going to bed early itself isn't a negative response necessarily. However, like say with Jess, it's not a conscious choice. She's just doing that almost like as a reaction to, because she's shut down and she always has to have that phone playing, that music or she's not even watching the show, right? But it's just there. And that's
comforting.
Yeah, and it's comforting, but it's not a healthy regulation. There's healthier ways, you know. It's not as bad as like, you know, like some people obviously use alcohol and they use drugs and smoking and, you know, porn and all those things. That's why people do those things, right? So we've got to be realistic about what does it mean? Like what are the levels that why do people have those behaviors? Right. And so we've kind of gone from, okay, so what does a dysregulated nervous system feel like in the body? You know, what are some of the traits that we feel in the body? And then what are some of the ways that we deal with that? And one of the reasons we want to consider that right now is because those traits, you know, are why most people are going to want to come and get some meditation advice, because people do understand that, you know, everybody kind of knows, meditation's good for you for stress relief, right? So having this in mind, so when we think about the person that goes more towards anxiety and maybe needs to have stimulation to regulate themselves, like the shopper, or even the person over scrolling, that sort of thing, like the scrolling thing. So what would be like some challenges for them to meditation? Like what would be some things that would be hard for them in certain meditation?
Being still.
Yeah, like just staying focused and sitting still.
Sitting there, yeah.
Yeah.
And when it's not guided.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. Yeah. So those are things to consider, right? If we're doing a prescription, like we're prescribing meditation, then this is really helpful as a teacher or as a person who's going to share meditation, because if we're prescribing meditation and somebody says to you, oh, I want to learn to meditate, it's much better now, obviously, because there's so many offerings. But I remember 10, 20 years ago, if you wanted to learn to meditate, the only options you had was like Buddhist meditation, just sit, either mindfulness, just watch the breath, or listen to a mantra or repeat a mantra. That was really it. And so many people struggled with that, right? And we can understand based on this why, and nowadays even more so, because the intensity, the friction and the chaos and the restlessness is even more, right? So then that, okay, it's helpful to find out a little bit more about their situation before you prescribe a meditation. Because if you when we went through the 3 weeks, and the first week we were more with the ajap, mantra, repeat the meditation. So what could work for somebody with that meditation? Why could that work for somebody like this stressed out person?
The constant repetition makes then they're not distracted to something else.
Yeah, so it gives them an anchor, right? So they're repeating the mantra, repeating the mantra, repeating the mantra. Every time they get distracted, they've got somewhere in all the chaos, there's this one anchor just holding them there. And they might get distracted, but there's this one anchor and it just keeps going, right? So it's really helpful for that. But what could be challenging about that for a person like this?
Oh, if they've got their gadgets handy, they could easily lose focus and
Yeah, and not only the gadget, but just the restlessness, the fact that they find it hard to concentrate on anything. Because one thing with the scrolling, it's so quick, so our brain's going bang, 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 bang. You're constantly something new, something new, something new, something new. And so our brain is getting conditioned to concentrate for a split second. Like not even that, like it's not even a second. If you just, and then something holds your interest, but if it's 30 seconds long, we're getting bored, So we're focusing on a mantra, and you're going to sit there for 20 minutes with this one mantra. If you can sit there and break through, that's powerful. It's really amazing. But it can also be a challenge. So it's important to actually know that, so that when people come to you and say, I can't meditate, this is probably why, because you can ask a few more questions, just like what we've been doing. What are your stress levels like? How does that show up in your life? How do you feel it in your body? What do you do to regulate your stress? Right? So you have those questions, which then gives you a bit more of an idea about what meditations would work. Okay. So what about somebody whose go-to is a little bit more shutting down, wanting to sleep, checking out, that sort of thing? Like what would be a good meditation technique for that person?
Same thing, either the mantra. What about certain breathing? Some of the breathing that we did is quite energizing.
So remember also in the training when we did Rajasic, Tamasic, and so Rajasic is that frenetic energy and Tamasic is that inert energy. And so if a person is more like what we were just talking about, the other person who's agitated a little bit more and they go more towards anxiety and their go-to is scrolling, that's more Rajasic, right? So the Tamasic actually can work, that solid, consistent thing can work, right? Because it's Tamasic, it's more grounding, so it balances them out. But somebody who's really inert and really Tamasic, it kind of keeps them there. So doing a meditation that's like an uplift, like even breath work, right? Or like the Dr. Joe breath or that sort of thing. That's a bit more dynamic. So it's a bit more Rajasic. So it can lift their energy a bit more, can shift that depression and that inertness. Does that make sense? Yeah. So what about What would you give a client who is a busy person in an office? It could be an executive of any sort. They go to work every day. They sit in an artificial environment behind the computer most of the time. They have a half an hour for lunch, but other than that, they're basically sitting there all day using their brain, just sitting there on the computer. And when they come home, what would be a great meditation? So, what could you suggest for this person?
I don't know if we covered this in the course, but what about walking meditations?
Yeah, but walking and even you can do walking meditations for sure. That's great. And even you can also have a mindful walk followed by like a 10-minute basic meditation. They could even sit outside and do a meditation, which is a great idea, like walk to a particular tree mindfully, sit by the tree, do 10 minutes of breathing, come back. That could be really good. Really good, because what are all the things that you think are good about that for this person?
The reason I said walking was because getting outside in nature and some fresh air, if you've just been inside all day. But yeah, being mindful, like coming into the present, feeling your body, just I guess if you've been on a computer, you're kind of, in your head and not in your body.
Yep. And the nature thing is a big, big, big thing. And also, like if they could take their shoes off and stand on the ground, because remember the energy field also, like being behind the computer and the EMF frequencies, as well as like the artificial lighting and all that sort of stuff, their bioplasmic field has got negative ions, negative or positive, the ions that we don't want. And so when they then can go and take their shoes off and sit by a tree, it balances that out, right? It neutralizes it. So it's a hugely powerful thing. Even if they didn't do meditation, but they just took their shoes off and sat outside or did some breathing and sat against a tree, that's huge, What else could we offer this person? Mamta, any ideas?
Just going out for a walk. It doesn't have to be a meditation, does it?
Well, what if
Moving the
because
body.
we're talking meditation,
Just
so
meditation.
so what would you suggest for a meditation practice for this person?
More breath work.
Yeah, breath work's great. And we can do
Yes.
pranayama, it doesn't have to be the holotropic breath work, although that's still good as well. But one of our pranayama practices, would be really good. And so you could do, say, what one would you offer?
Nadi Shodhana.
Yeah,
Never go wrong with that. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a nice one too. What I like is, we do the one with the hand gesture, then you take it away and then you do Aloma Viloma, where you do it. And then you just finish off with the inverted V, which is a meditation on its own. It's a beautiful little sequence, right? That's really lovely. And it's really cleansing for that mind activity that they've had as well, just to almost clean out the mind space.
And yet they're doing something, so it's not too, boring for them.
Well, and not only that, it's like if they've been in their head all day and then you're asking them to go straight into their body, it's nice, but there's a lot of activity. So you're almost channeling all that activity to a stillness, and you're slowly taking that energy or that activity. And first of all, you're doing the hand gesture and you're doing the counting. Then you take the hand gesture away and no counting. And then you take that away and you just go into the V. And so you're going from a more gross to subtle, and it's a really, really powerful practice that you can do when there is quite a lot of activity and energy. So that's a lovely one to do. You could go outside, walk outside to a tree and do your Nadi Shodhana. That'd be great little meditation. Yeah. What's also something simple, like say if this person didn't have a chance to do that and then they go to bed and their mind is racing, what's something you can give them while they're lying in bed?
The box breathing.
Yeah.
In bed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good one. I'll just write that down. Grounding and yeah, because that's easy, right? You're lying in bed and you just do box breathing, which is great. And you can change it up a bit. You know, you don't have to do 3-3-3-3 or 4-4-4. You can also do like the uneven breathing, you know, 3-4-7, you know, those sort of things, like longer exhalation, that sort of thing.
What about just sort of taking your focus on just the two chakras, you know, like maybe just do the heart and maybe do the throat, but one thing on one day?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. You can definitely do that. And especially like, say, you know, if you wanted to take them on that energetic route a little bit more, because that's also really powerful for both the Rajasic and the Tamasic person, right? So for the Rajasic person, what chakras would you focus them on? For the Rajasic person, the frenetic.
There's a lot of activity. So the grounding,
Yeah.
Muladhara.
Yep. Really good. Grounding, Muladhara. You know, it's grounding, it's earthing, it's solid. And what about for the Tamasic person?
They need the shift in the energy. I don't know how to. What's
Some kind of movement to move the energy.
So what chakra do you think would be good?
the number 2 one? Orange.
Well, I would probably go Manipura because Manipura is 3, remember, and it's fire. So remember, and Manipura is fire and transformation. So we're kind of like like firing up and fire in your belly, you know, stoke the fire, that sort of thing. So if you're completely inert and tamasic, it's all like get that fire going, get that fire in your belly going. Whereas a person who's a bit more rajasic is already like frenetic and fired up, and they might even be a bit angry. So we don't want that, more of that. So that's where like grounding in and coming back into the base. So that's good for those first 2 chakras and stuff. And then, so say if we were going to give them 2 chakras and they're rajasic, right? So they're frenetic. So we give them 1. And then what's another one that you would give them after that?
They are rajasic.
Yeah, they're rajasic. So we've given them Muladhara. And then what's the second one that we could give them?
Number 2, the orange one.
So what I would probably do is like, let's give the first 2 centers, like the first 3 centers as one option, and then the higher centers as the second option. So we take them from this lower density to a higher frequency. So let's choose one of the 4, 5, or 6.
What about 6?
And why would you choose 6?
I kind of know. I'm trying to think how to explain it. Because isn't it the one that's the highest ones? That's like your connection to. Okay, but why? Oh no.
No, it's quite good. So the rajasic person is a kind of high activity person, usually probably a bit of a thinker, anxiety, that sort of thing. Yeah, so we've grounded them. So first we've taken all that activity and we've brought it into the Muladhara. So we've, given them a base and a grounding. And then we go into the 6th chakra. And now we're going more into like opening and using intuition more and expanding more into intuition. So it's training this mind-based person to overcome the analytical a bit and go more into intuition. So it's a good kind of, like, they're in the heady type of person anyway, but we can teach them or help them to use more intuition rather than mind.
You see that heaps better.
No, but I mean, so there's an option. It doesn't have to be there. And so the rajasic, the tamasic person, so we've given them Manipura to fire up. Okay, they were really inert. And so what's inertia? It's a little bit more depression, hopelessness, feeling a little bit disconnected, right? So now we fired them up enough. We've got the energy going. What's the second center we'll give them?
The throat.
Why?
because then they can be not so tamasic and be a bit more vocal.
That could be for like definitely for a specific thing. Like, so for a person who's maybe gone into depression because of disempowerment. So that could be quite a good one. Like, it's like they're shut down because they feel disempowered. But however, what about like, so if a person's just, they're overwhelmed, they've shut down, they've gone into disconnection. So what other, and we fire them up a little bit, what else could we give them? There's only one left, isn't there?
Yeah, heart.
Because disconnection and connection, right? So heart is connection. So if a person has gone tamasic, they've shut themselves down and they've disconnected from like life basically a lot of the time, right? And others as well, right? They've isolated themselves, they've withdrawn. And so we have given them the third energy center to kind of spark life back in, to bring up a bit more life. And now we want to open their heart. We want them to breathe and to open their heart and to expand and to open up again and to trust more and to connect more, and even to themselves, to feel love and expansion for themselves. And especially with depression, it's really powerful to get into heart. So and I mean, even the tamasic rajasic person, we could get into heart, but say we were going to do two. The tamasic person, so the inert person, I would go manipura and anahata, and for the rajasic person I would go muladhara and ajna. Okay, so we would go, because they're like, that way we can get them to teach intuition, but you can also go anahata for that one as well. So it makes sense. So that's another way to look at your meditation. So we've looked at, okay, so a person's after work, we've gone, okay, grounding and Nadi Shodhana. Person who's trying to go to bed and they can't, they're not sleeping well, we've gone breathing practices. And we could also add their body rotation. Body rotation is hugely powerful if people can't get to sleep. That's a really good one.
And Brahmari?
Yeah, before sleep, it's quite good. Yeah, before they go to bed. Yeah. So yeah, and we could do the pranayamas there. And then, so now we've looked more at like conditions. So we've looked at like tamasic and rajasic person. So like depressed and anxious. And so we've looked at those and we've used the chakras in there. Okay, so we've got sort of 3 prescriptions. Okay, so we've got one for like an evening person for after work, one for bed, and one for a condition or a situation. So let's do one more. The last one is a morning routine. So what would be, a lot of people do prefer just to meditate in the morning, right? And that might be their only meditation. So what are some things to consider for the morning practice?
Are you asking what type of work?
Well, first let's think a little bit about their state of being and everything else. So what are some things to consider? So they could be sleepy. So there's the sleepiness can be an advantage because they're not in their beta frequency yet, but it can be a disadvantage because they could drop back into delta too quickly, right? So there is a real window of opportunity there. But what else did you say?
Feeling like cold, so not so so ready, for the day.
Yeah, and it depends, like, how, like, some people, another challenge is that they maybe have time restraint and they woke up a bit too late and they're like, I won't have time now, right? So that's also something to consider.
Some people wake up with intense anxiety.
Right. So, yep, that's good to consider.
But usually it's more sleepy, I think.
Yeah. So what are some things to consider, even just with that? Like what are some things to consider for these people?
I think you want to make it easy. Like
Yeah.
people have busy schedules or they're sleepy. So I like how we've talked about just doing it, from bed. Just
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
you wake up.
Meditation. Yeah.
If you're time poor, then just waking up 10 minutes, 20 minutes earlier.
Definitely, and especially for when you're first getting people into meditation, like that's definitely, almost a prerequisite. Like if you're introducing people to meditation and you want them to meditate in the morning, 10 minutes is more than enough. It's a good place to start. Ideally, if they really, really, really can't do it, then yes, meditation. But ideally, especially in the beginning, even if they have a chair in their bedroom and they just crawl out of bed and sit on the chair, because it's going to be hard enough to stay awake. Mind you, once you've trained yourself in meditation a bit more, you're less likely to fall asleep. So you can sit up in bed and, do that sort of thing. I say that because that's what I do most of the time. Because I don't want to disturb my animals.
I relate to that now. I've got 3.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God, you should see how I sleep at the moment with 3 dogs. It's hard case.
Nice.
Heaven. Not for most people, but it is for me. So we're kind of going, okay, length of time is different. Okay. What else? What else would we want to consider?
Other style of meditation like we've talked about.
Yeah. So what would be a good style of meditation at this time?
We've talked about sitting up, but I probably wouldn't do anything too. Well, if you ask me, I probably wouldn't want to get into the breathing exercises as soon as I've woken up.
Yeah.
So I'd prefer silent or guided or a mantra, although mantra can be hard depending if you've run in the house asleep. So
yeah, well, you can do an internal mantra and also guided,
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you. I think most people would be more likely to do a softer meditation because you know how we talked about the evening, we might do some breathing to shift our state. We might focus on the chakras, might go for a walk. We might do, that's really works quite well in the evening, in the morning, I mean, if it's just a nice meditation, you've got enough spaciousness, then I would go more with a mantra, or a silent meditation or light guided meditation. But what's also another really great thing to add in the morning is affirmations and intentions. So that's really powerful and really sets your day up and sets your mood. And that's really powerful, is to empower people to realize that you can change your whole day with that morning routine. So but if we're introducing somebody to meditation, then I would go with like an easy sit on the bed or on your chair and do 10 minutes of Om meditation, or something like that, or do a couple of rounds of box breathing and then just watch the internal space, or follow a really simple guided meditation for 10 minutes. And then set some intentions, like go into gratitude. Gratitude's a great meditation in the morning, your gratitude meditation. And then, maybe journal or set some intentions. So have some affirmations. One thing that I really like is I've recorded a magical script, as Alex would call it. And it's, you just it's 3 minutes of me recorded myself about how amazing my life is and all the great things that are in my life and all the things like, also things that I aspire to, but I speak from it's already done, right? And then I've added some emotive music to it and I've recorded it. And so what I actually do is before my meditation, so I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is I put my headphones on and I half go back to sleep and it just plays on repeat. And so it's kind of subliminally programming me, already in the morning. So I'm in that complete sort of alpha theta state. I barely wake up. I put that on and I just repeat that over and over again. It's my own voice, And I'm just saying, my life's so amazing. It's just unbelievable. I can't believe how clients are just can't wait to sign up with me. And it's so amazing. My animals are so healthy. And it's every time I open my bank account, there's just more money in it. It's unbelievable. And it's like, wow, not unbelievable. I don't say that. It is believable. It's just like so good, and I feel so safe, and I feel so vitalized, and my body is so youthful, and so this whole thing is 3 minutes of me rambling on about how amazing I am and how amazing my life is, with this emotive like da 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 music, and I'm half sleeping. I'm sleeping, and every day it's just like every morning it's just going round and round in circles, and then I get up and I do my meditation, and and then I'll do some affirmations, I'll do some light language, and I'll do some grid building, and I'll do some journaling. And we don't have to do that with clients necessarily straight away, but it's remembering, like, this is the most powerful piece of the morning meditation, is to really, really bring it home to people. Like what we've been talking about in the evening is recovery. Like we're going, okay, it's already all gone to shit, and your body feels shit, and you feel tired, and you're anxious, and you can't go to sleep. So all we're doing is a plaster, or we're recovering. What we want to do in the beginning of the day is set ourselves up so we don't need that at the end of the day, right? So what we want to do in the beginning of the day is like, do your meditation, like what you said, Mamta, is like ground in, come into yourself and really be really clear that you're like, what did you call it? Solidify that inner strength, right? So you just solidify the inner strength. So then now when you go out into the world, you're already anchored into that place. If we don't do that in the morning, the world just comes at us. And then by the end of the day, we'll see what's left. Right? By the end of the day, we're a mess, and we've got to try and pull ourselves together and try and recover a little bit. And the next day we do it all over again. And so that's a great ambulance at the bottom of the cliff. But what we're actually looking to do is not need that so much, right? We want to spiral upwards. Otherwise, we're just basically holding steady. So the morning is really, that's why I'm ramble on about morning routine, because it's like the morning routine can change your whole life, literally. And, okay, like, you can keep building on it, but initially do 10 to 15 minutes. If you did 10 minutes of meditation, 5 minutes of gratitude and intention setting, it's really key. So that's amazing. Right. So meditation and gratitude. Does that make sense? To give you a little bit more empowerment on what that means and how you do it?
Yep.
Okay.
I have a question. For me personally, I like to do an energizing breath work before I do my meditation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'll do that. Is it the 9 count breath?
Yeah. That's
just to fire up, and otherwise awesome. I'm just not set.
No, that's great. And that's why, like, traditionally it's set up that way, definitely.
Yeah, otherwise I feel like I'm just wasting time trying to look for something.
Yeah. No, it does. It drops you in quicker, And it's why we do that traditionally. It's definitely. However, it's more about like having different prescriptions for different people, So we're going to finish our session, but we're going to finish it together. So what we're going to do is Mamta is going to guide us through Nadi Shodhana. Okay. And then Katie is going to guide us through Aloma Viloma. No, I will do Aloma Viloma, and then Katie will do the inverted V. You happy with that, Katie? You know what that means? The inverted V is just where you breathe in, you touch the eyebrow center, you breathe out, and you imagine the breath coming in through both nostrils and back out through both nostrils, and then you're going to sit for a little bit. Okay?
Okay.
It's all right. It's all good. And the most important thing as far as guiding meditation is do it. Like, if I'm sitting here now and I've got my eyes open and I'm looking at you guys and I'm going, okay, just do your nostrils, and I'm like teaching by looking at you, I have to be doing it, and I'm speaking from what I'm doing, right? Okay, so Mamta's doing Nadi Shodhana, I'm doing Aloma Viloma, and Katie's doing inverted V. Ready?
Yep.
Okay, let's go. Okay, so we're all doing it together. Okay?
And I'm guiding everybody through it, right?
Yeah. So you're speaking it. And maybe do like, say, 5 to 8 rounds.
Okay.
Okay. So let's close our eyes and we will.
Yes, sitting up nice and tall, closing your eyes. Taking the 2 fingers, so your index finger and your middle finger, placing it on your forehead. You can use your left hand to support your right hand if you need to. Take your ring finger. Taking your right thumb and closing your right nostril. Breathing in through your left nostril. And then using your index finger, ring finger, close your left nostril. Breathing out, or release your right nostril. Breathing out through your right nostril. Then breathing in through your right nostril again. Close your right nostril. Release your ring finger and breathe out through your left nostril. So we'll keep doing that. Breathing in through your left nostril. Releasing your thumb and then breathe out through your right nostril. Breathing in through your right nostril. Close your right nostril, hold the breath a little longer, and then release through your left. Breathing in through your left nostril. Close your left nostril, hold the breath a little longer, then release out through the right. Breathing in through the right. Close the right nostril, hold the breath, and then breathe out through the left. Making this your last one. Breathing in through your left nostril. Close your left nostril, hold the breath, and then breathe out through the right nostril. Making this your last one.
Keep your eyes closed. You got to always breathe out on the left as the last part. So the left, you finish and you start and finish out through the left. So keeping your eyes closed. Now, keeping your hands down, focus on your left nostril. Now, imagine your breath flowing up through the left nostril to the eyebrow center. You just touch your awareness, just your consciousness to the eyebrow center, and then you imagine following the breath out through the right nostril. Now imagine, you might even visually see a breath flowing up through the right nostril. Touch your awareness at the eyebrow center, and then out through the left nostril, like a stream of awareness out through the left nostril. Then we breathe in through both nostrils, like seeing an inverted V coming in through both nostrils to the eyebrow center, and then out through both nostrils, like that inverted V. This is one round of Aloma Viloma. We breathe in through the left nostril, observe and feel that breath coming in, touch the eyebrow center with your awareness, out through the right, slow, steady breath out. In through the right, touch your awareness at the eyebrow center, out through the left. Breathing in through both nostrils, touch the awareness at the eyebrow center, breathing out through both nostrils. That's one full round. We'll do that again. In through the left, out through the right, in through the right, out through the left, in through both, inverted V, touch the awareness, out through both. It's another full round. Do that again on your own time. Alternate first. both directions. And then both at the same time, that inverted V. Do one more round on your own. Now with the inverted V, stay with that, passing on to Katie.
Just doing the same one that you just did, Wendy.
Just the inverted V part. Just
Okay.
speaking into that.
Okay, so in through your left nostril.
No, both at the same time.
Okay,
just
so
just the inverted V. Yeah.
both nostrils at the same time, leading up to the eyebrow line, and out with both nostrils, and in with both nostrils, and out with both nostrils.
And then when you're doing it, so keep going.
Yeah.
So as you're doing it, speak about the sensations that you're experiencing as you're doing it.
Okay, so breathing in with both nostrils. And what do you call it up here? You said with your
Eyebrow center.
consciousness to your eyebrow center. And then breathing out with both nostrils.
So what are you feeling when you do that?
Do you mean around the inverted V shape, or do you mean like
Yeah, so you can talk into the visualization of the inverted V, like what are you seeing? So speak into that for a second.
Yep, so breathing in with both nostrils, into the inverted V, up to the point of your eyebrow line. Breathing in like an inverted V, and out with both nostrils.
And you can speak about the sensation of what it feels like, the cool air coming in, the warm air going out, what that feels like, the subtlety. So just speak from your experience.
Okay, breathing in, feeling the cool air, and breathing out, both nostrils, feeling the warm air. In and out. Do you want me to keep going, Wendy, or do you want to
Yeah,
finish?
so what's quite nice is that what you're doing well is just like, just like speaking into that inverted V, keep bringing them back to that. And because there isn't so much to say, right? But all you want to do is like to give people something to anchor back into. So first of all, it's like, okay, triangle breath, and they go, oh, okay, cool, I can see that. So you give them that's enough for now. So the next 2 or 3 breaths is like that that they're paying attention to this inverted V, and it might take 2 or 3 breaths for them to sort of visualize that. So you're like, cool, I don't need to say anything else. They're busy trying to figure that out. And then after a while, you go, okay, now I can layer on, and then you can say, feel the cool air coming in, feel the warm air coming out. Because now they're going, oh yeah, and it's cool and it's warm, oh yeah. And you can leave them with that for a little while. So the next 2 to 3, 4 breaths, they're like focused on that, and that gives them enough focus. And then they're like getting bored. So then or they might lose focus. So then you might go, make it more subtle, So rather than make it more subtle. Just feel it streaming in, just a subtle breath, just at the nose tip, just subtle breath, Start to feel the subtle stream of breath. Touch the eyebrow center, so you can just sort of mention parts of that. And then you just leave them to it. And then maybe because this is now the meditation part. The first part is pranayama. The second part is the interim of meditation, and now the inverted V is the meditation. So this is just like, just keep doing that. And you don't have to add too much more, but we've got, say, 3 or 4 things to say. The inverted V, the cool breath, warm breath, the touching the awareness to the eyebrow center, and then you just leave them. And then next minute after a while, that you go in and out. You just say that again. And then after a while, you go, follow that triangular breath, touch awareness, and out again. After a while, you just say subtle breath, warm and cold, cooler, warmer breath. So you just little anchors to remind them of what they're focusing on. And that's all it is. And you could do that for a solid 5 minutes. You could have a timer on. And so what actually works is that you kept your voice quite monotone. That's really good, rather than, okay, now we're going up and down, breathe in, breathe out. It's like that the tone of voice is really important, because if I'm doing breath work, I might go, breathe in, keep going, breathe in, big breath, because I want them to feel activated, whereas and when we do the Dr. Joe bit, now breathe in, breathe in, breathe in, hold and hold and hold and hold, like I'm trying to get that energy going. Whereas if I'm going, with Nadi Shodhana or inverted V, breathe in the inverted V, breathe out the inverted V. That's not going to work. We want it to become more and more subtle, so that a monotone voice and just a repetition with lots of space, that's all it needs. So it's good. Yeah. And it's just a matter of doing it. The other thing is you have the inverted V now in your toolkit. So if you wanted to, say if you had a client that you were working with and they're a bit frazzled, you go, okay, let's just sit for a second, close your eyes, let's do some box breathing, and now let's do a bit of inverted V, and then leave it at that. And then before, say if you're doing a coaching session with them and they've come in really frazzled, let's just do a little bit of this. And now they're grounded. Okay, you feel better? Okay, let's get into our session. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Any questions? You're on mute.
How would you end a class? Or what would be the more appropriate?
Yeah, so say if we did what we just did now, so we did Nadi Shodhana, then we did Aloma Viloma, then we did inverted V. Say if that whole thing was 10 minutes, okay, and then we just sit for a moment, you've done inverted V. So then I might say, let go of the inverted V, okay, let go of it, and then just for a moment, just sit, doing nothing, not focusing on anything in particular, just sit for a moment. Okay, now externalize your awareness, so we've let go of the inverted V. Now I'm just sitting for a moment, and then slowly I let my attention go back out. So I got my eyes closed, I'm sitting for a moment. Just start to notice the sounds in your environment, notice the environment you're sitting in. So we've gone in more and more, and now I slowly feel the whole body in the space, feel the space you're sitting in, be aware of the sounds, bring in a little bit of movement, so you externalize it again. Yeah, you don't really just want to go inverted V, stay there. Okay, thanks, bye. You kind of want to get them back out again too. Yeah.
But 2 different timings of the class. So if you had one at 10 o'clock in the morning, you wouldn't want to bring them in too much, because they still need to be, still in the middle of the day.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter, because, we can do a solid drop-in meditation for 10 minutes. Definitely. We can totally disappear and go off into other planets and then come back out slowly and go, okay, we're back on Earth and let's go. So, it's fine. You can do a deep meditation. Definitely. Yeah. All good. Perfect. Awesome. Okay. Well, I will do a bit of an edit on this and send it in our platform, and I will also put a little review of the different meditation things and stuff like that. So.